welcome to the Chai Academy being broadcast out of the Chai Center. If you've been here before, you know that every day we try to teach a course for a half hour on a different topics. Currently, we're in the middle of famous Jewish personalities. I say famous; they could also be infamous. We've discussed many people, quite a few people. Today, we're going to focus on Louis Brandeis, of course, a Supreme Court justice. Before we do it, I just a thought. We discussed Rabbi Cook, the first chief rabbi of Israel. So he had something that he said. Rabbi Cook said as follows: when will the day come when Jews who are great will be great Jews? And I think that Louis Brandeis was a great Jew and a proud Jew, and he was also a great man. So so we've discussed Rav Cook, and that comment made me think of him. So he was born in Louisville, Kentucky, and they moved there. His parents moved there because parents were born in Bohemia, I think, but moved there because it was a port city, and they moved there for business reasons. And he went to law school. He went to Harvard Law School. He went at the age of 18, and he graduated at 20, the youngest. I'm not the youngest ever, but his GPA, or his was the highest ever recorded at Harvard University. Just a brilliant man. He went, for the most part, he was in labor law, and he was known as the people's lawyer, because once he had accumulated enough money, there were so many cases he took on for free, without payment, so that he could address it properly without thinking about the money behind it. So, for example, the life insurance. Life insurance, he studied it because life insurance was corrupt. They took your money, and then they declared bankruptcy. So he studied it, and he turned life insurance on its head. He also was the railroad, Morgan Stanley's railroad. He fought it because he felt it was deleterious to people. Fair labor laws, etc. So he was in the forefront. He was, once again, the people's lawyer. 1917, President Woodrow Wilson, he nominated him, and he passed on his name, for the Supreme Court. He met with a lot of opposition. Faith, Jewish person on the Supreme Court justice, and he was also a liberal. He was extremely liberal, and the court was conservative. But regardless of the obstacles involved, he was appointed to the Supreme Court justice, to the point that years later FDR was said that he was the model, that Louis Brandeis was the model of morality. He actually, FDR, he nicknamed him Isaiah, after the prophet. So he, on the court, is a tremendous defender of liberal values, and he fought this conservative court for a long time. One of his arguments were that the Constitution of America does not dictate and does not embody a particular economic approach. So he said we can think out of the box a little bit. He fought for the minimum wage. He was pro-labor union, and he actually was the man that founded the Federal Reserve. And it's interesting that in 1939, so this is 1917, he was appointed. In 1939, there was a little bit of a shift in the Supreme Court, And many of the things that he was pushing for, which he didn't necessarily get the majority vote, but he planted a seed. And because he planted a seed, eventually certain things the court began to see it his way in some of the things. On top of everything else, he was a passionate Zionist. And he was an involved Zionist. He was appointed to be the president of the American Zionist Foundation, and where he helped educate, inspire. He also helped raise money, and when he was appointed as a Supreme Court justice, he was on different boards for different things. He quit everything. The only thing he didn't quit was the AZF, the American Zionist Foundation. That's the only thing he didn't quit. And they say about him, historians write about him, that in 1920, he was actually thinking of giving up his Supreme Court justice seat to become the chair of the World Zionist Organization. Thankfully, he didn't, because he was, to become Supreme Court Justice, not that many people can fill that seat. President of WZO, I think it's a broader, you have a broader audience to choose from. He was very critical, and this is such an important point. This is because nothing has changed, except perhaps the Jewish mindset is going back to where it once was. He was critical of the Jew who was concerned that to be a Zionist, to love Israel, would call their loyalty to America into question. Right? And we've been accused of that, right? You have this idiot Ilhan Omar, who's a congresswoman, who's a rabid anti-Semite, and she just, I don't know what she does for her community, but she's definitely been very vocal about my community, and I don't live in her district, but she was accused the Jews of having dual loyalties and not being loyal Jews, not Israel, Jews in the United States. It's all about the Benjamins. So anyway, as far as the dual loyalty thing, he was very vocal. Louis Brandeis was extremely vocal, and he said multiple loyalties is not mutually exclusive. It's not. And he said, I'll prove it to you. You can be loyal to your family, loyal to your city, loyal to your state, loyal to your country, and there's no conflict. There's no conflict. So you can have a passion for the United States and a passion for Israel. I once heard a lecture where somebody was asked about love. If you have one kid, you can love it incredibly, and 2 kids, but if you have 5 kids or 7 kids or 9 kids, it's how much love. And I remember the person saying that your love increases with each kid. So, yes, your jar was 100% full of love, but guess what? Hi Hazel, hi Susan. Your jar increased, and therefore your love increased. So he poo-pooed it, and it used to get him upset. Because you can love Israel and love the United States. You can. And Ilhan Omar, she should take a lesson from Louis Brandeis, someone way smarter than herself. Now, in the early 1920s, he actually had an ideological argument with Chaim Weizmann, who eventually became the first president of Israel, and he resigned from all leadership positions. All leadership positions. He was still remained a Zionist, and he still was extremely passionate about Israel. He left in his will. In his will, he actually left the largest amount of his charity that he left in his will was to go to Israel. And he was very concerned. He was concerned. He was very wise, and he was very concerned. And because he was concerned about the very survival of the Jewish people, and not due to anti-Semitism. Right? What he was concerned about was and he said this, he urged Jews to deepen the connection to Judaism, to learn more, to be knowledgeable about the morals and the values and the ethics and the creeds and the rituals of Judaism. He said something which is brilliant. He says, to be a good American, you must be a better Jew. If you're a better Jew, it's good for Judaism and it's good for America. And I think that's such an important point, is that if you're the best you can be, everybody's going to gain. If you're mediocre in this, that, and the other, and so if this you have something, and a Jew, you can't discount that. So maybe you can say, okay, I'm not into cricket, I don't like hockey, but Judaism is part and parcel of you. It's not something. It's not a compound, right? It's not something attached to you. So because it is one with you, he was saying, be the best you can be, and that will help you in other things, because you're the best you can be, and once again, Judaism is part of you. Then it will overflow. Your cup will overflow with goodness and perfection for the United States as well. And he was deeply concerned. In fact, there was this Zionist educator whose name was Shlomo Bardin. He came to the United States for a short while, and Brandeis met with him. And Brandeis spoke to him, and he was so concerned about the Jewish people. He was so concerned that the ignorance that the Jewish people had, and he says he didn't understand why would Jews attach yourself to communism and Stalin when you can attach yourself to greats, Jewish greats, right? To Judaism and to God, etc. He didn't understand, and therefore he met with Shlomo Bardin, and he says, "You're needed here more in the United States. I need your help. We need your help. The Jews need your help. So stay in the United States, and let's form a committee of how to educate Jews." And they had many, many, many conversations. And from those conversations that Bardin and Brandeis had, this was the eventually became the impetus for the foundation of the Brandeis Institute. So the Brandeis Institute is Brandeis College. Currently, the Brandeis College is in Massachusetts. It's a Jewish college with Jewish values, overseen by Jewish people. It's open to all, but it has a Jewish time, a Jewish taste, and where it teaches Judaism as well as every other topic. And you get a degree like you get a degree from any other college, except it has a Jewish. It also has the ability to enhance your Judaism. He passed away in 1941, and his wife agreed to call it the Brandeis Institute. She was very reluctant about other things, but the Brandeis Institute of Higher Learning, which led into the Brandeis College, was something that she agreed to. So if you just think about him for a minute, And the reason why I started is because he was a well-balanced individual. He understood that you have to be kind to people, take care of people, minimum wage, and he understood. You know, by the way, and minimum wage doesn't mean that you can. Minimum wage means you have to work, right? Yeah. If you cannot get a job, then he fought for that as well. But if you could get a job, he wasn't happy if you didn't get a job. This current climate is a little tricky here. So, but if you can get a job, you should be paid and be able to survive. He fought monopolies. He fought big corporations because he felt it hurt the little guy. And so you see, he was very well rounded, well balanced. He was kind to his fellow man. He had a connection with the fellow man. Took cases for free, etc. But he was also, he says, it's not enough just to be kind. And in Judaism, we see this. By the way, we see this. Judaism expounds that when God gave us the 10 Commandments, He gave us the 10 Commandments as follows. 5 of them were between man and God, and 5 of them between interpersonal relationships. And you got to have both. You can't have 5 commandments. You got to have 10 commandments. He understood this. And not only did he understand it, he did something about it. So it was him and Bardin who formed the think tank and implemented it. The Lubavitcher Rebbe once said that you can. The problem with meetings is that at the end of the meeting you resolve to have another meeting. So that wasn't Brandeis. Louis Brandeis was a man who was a meeting has to lead to action, which is the correct way to hold a meeting. So I heard once a joke is that when a team of people came together and they said we have to unify the states because Massachusetts was MASS, they said it has to be abbreviated, so let's abbreviate it. So they had a meeting, and they said, okay, it's easy, let's start. They started, and they came Alabama, and I said, okay, great, AL. The very next one was Alaska, and they said, holy moly, what are we going to do? It can't be AL. So they discussed about it, and they thought about it, and then they said, okay, read us the minutes. So the secretary said, you mean minute? And anyway, so they ignored that one, they tabled that one, and then they went to the C's, and when they got to they got to Colorado, they said great CO, and then they went to Connecticut, and there was another fight. Anyway, so meetings have to lead to action. And that's what he was. So he by the way, he mentioned he mentioned in his talks that he was very concerned about colleges. And he was clairvoyant because colleges is the epicenter of the poison of anti-Semitism, anti-Israel, and it's where professors can inculcate the impressionable young minds with nonsense. So that's another reason why the Brandeis Institute was founded. God bless. If you have any questions, you can post them on Facebook here or rabbi@thechaicenter.com. In addition, you can go to thechaicenter.com/academy to see a list and be able to view many hundreds of the classes that we have given thus far. Have a great and awesome rest of the day.